The Grand Hall of Boston Symphony Orchestra fell into an uncomfortable silence as two distinguished conductors faced each other, their faces reddening with barely contained fury. Thomas Blackwood, a traditionalist with 4 decades of experience, gripped his baton so tightly his knuckles turned white. Opposite him, Maria Santos, an innovative rising star, stood her ground with fierce determination. This is Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, not some experimental contemporary piece. Blackwood's voice echoed through the hall. The tempo must remain exactly as written. Santos shook her head, her modern interpretation challenging decades of tradition. Music breathes, it evolves. Your rigid adherence to the past is precisely why younger audiences are turning away from classical music. In the front row, Dr. Amanda Brooks watched the clash with growing fascination. As head of musical theory at Berklee College of Music, she recognized this as more than just an artistic disagreement. It was a perfect microcosm of humanity's eternal struggle between tradition and innovation. Unknown to everyone in the hall, other eyes were watching. High above Boston, cloaked in advanced technology that bent light and radar around their ship, the Harmonious observed the scene with their characteristic unified consciousness. They had visited 17 worlds before Earth, and each time they'd found the same pattern. Species either achieved perfect harmony or destroyed themselves through discord. But this was different. The third movement's acceleration creates tension that resolves beautifully in the fourth. Santos argued, her passion evident in every gesture. It creates chaos. Pure chaos. Blackwood countered, as the orchestra members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Amanda stood up, her movement drawing attention in the tense atmosphere. She walked deliberately to the stage, her mind racing with possibilities. Years of mediating between classical purists and jazz innovators at Berklee had prepared her for this moment. "If I may," she said, her voice carrying naturally through the acoustically perfect space, "perhaps there's something we're all missing here." The Harmonious collectively focused their attention. Their sensor readings showed increased neural activity throughout the human audience, anticipation, curiosity, and concern mixing in ways their perfect society had never experienced. Beethoven wrote this symphony while going deaf. Amanda continued, moving between the two conductors. He was literally losing his connection to the very art form he loved. Imagine that struggle. Tradition failing him, forcing innovation. She turned to Blackwood. The piece demands technical precision. Then to Santos. But it also screams for emotional revolution. She picked up a baton, glancing at both conductors. What if we tried something new? First movement. Traditional tempo, honoring the foundation. She nodded to Blackwood. Third movement. We accelerate, letting the piece evolve, showing how music, like humanity, grows through challenge. A smile to Santos. The Harmonious registered something unprecedented in their observations, conflict transforming into collaboration without enforced consensus. It defied their understanding of social harmony. The orchestra alternates between conductors, Amanda suggested, like a conversation between past and present. Not chaos. Counterpoint. For a moment, no one moved. Then Santos laughed, a bright, genuine sound. Counterpoint. Of course. She turned to Blackwood. Willing to experiment, maestro. The older conductor's stern expression held for a moment, then cracked into a reluctant smile. For Beethoven's sake, why not? What followed was unlike any performance in the hall's history. The orchestra responded to shifting conductors, traditional precision melding with passionate innovation. The audience sat entranced as classical structure provided the foundation for creative interpretation, neither dominating but both enriching each other. In their ship, the Harmonious experienced their first moment of collective uncertainty. Their society was based on perfect agreement, yet these humans achieved something remarkable through their very disagreement. The performance below wasn't perfect. There were minor mistakes, moments of uncertainty, but it was alive in a way that perfection could never capture. As the final notes faded and the audience erupted in applause, Dr. Amanda Brooks looked up at the grand arched ceiling, unaware that beyond it, an advanced civilization had just fundamentally questioned their understanding of harmony for the first time in 10,000 years. Dr. Amanda Brooks noticed him the moment he walked into her advanced jazz theory class. While other students slouched, doodled, or typed on laptops, the tall, eerily pristine figure sat perfectly straight, hands folded with mechanical precision on the desk. His student ID read Zach Miller, but everything about him felt meticulously calculated, from his unwrinkled clothing to his unnaturally perfect posture. Today, we're exploring intentional dissonance in modern jazz, Amanda announced, writing on the board. Sometimes, the wrong notes create the most interesting expressions. Incorrect. The voice cut through the classroom silence. Zach's hand wasn't raised. He simply spoke, his tone carrying an otherworldly resonance that made several students turn. Music is mathematical. Deviation from established harmonic patterns serves no logical purpose. Amanda smiled, recognizing the teachable moment. Really? Let's experiment. She moved to the classroom's grand piano. First, a perfectly structured C major scale. Her fingers danced across the keys in textbook precision. Now, listen to this. She launched into an improvised jazz piece, intentionally hitting notes outside the traditional scale, creating tension then resolving it in unexpected ways. The students nodded along, some closing their eyes to feel the rhythm, all except Zach, who looked physically pained. "You are damaging the mathematical harmony," he insisted, his image flickering slightly. A few students blinked, but in the dimly lit classroom, it could have been a trick of the light. "Music isn't just math," Amanda countered, continuing to play. "It's emotion, story, life. Sometimes the most powerful moments come from breaking the rules." The classroom's overhead lights suddenly dimmed, coinciding with another visible flicker in Zach's appearance. This time, there was no mistaking it. For a split second, his human facade wavered, revealing something luminescent and geometric underneath. The students gasped. Someone dropped their phone. But Amanda kept playing, her mind racing but her fingers steady on the keys. She smoothly transitioned into a different piece, the same melody she'd used during the symphony confrontation days ago. "Fascinating choice," Zach spoke, his voice now carrying harmonic overtones impossible for human vocal cords. "You seek harmony through apparent chaos, just as before." The holographic disguise failed completely. Where Zach had sat now floated a being of crystalline light and geometric precision. Students scrambled from their seats, but Amanda played on, maintaining the melody as an anchor point. "We are the Harmonious," the being announced, its form pulsing with each word. "I am Zixmel, researcher of primitive species. Though this revelation breaks protocol, your demonstration compels response." Amanda's fingers never left the keys. "You were at the symphony." "Correct. We observed your solution. It defied our understanding." Zixmel's form shifted, creating patterns that somehow matched the music Amanda played. "Our species achieved perfection through perfect unity. Yet you create beauty through intentional imperfection." By now, several students had their phones out, recording. Amanda knew this moment would change human history, but her immediate concern was maintaining calm. She modulated her playing, introducing elements of a lullaby into the jazz progression. "Perhaps," she suggested, watching Zixmel's geometric patterns shift with her music, "you could join our late-night jam session. Experience this intentional imperfection firsthand." The alien being paused, its patterns momentarily freezing. When it spoke again, its harmonics carried a new note. Uncertainty. Such participation would violate 17 protocols. Amanda hit a purposely dissonant chord. Sometimes breaking protocol leads to breakthrough. The crystalline entity somehow managed to convey amusement. "Your argument employs our own observations as persuasion." Clever. It reformed into a more compact configuration. "I will attend, though the Harmonious Council will not approve." As if on cue, the building's fire alarm began blaring. In the chaos of evacuation, Amanda caught Zixmel's final words. Tonight's session will be educational. Later, as federal agents swarmed the campus, amateur videos of the incident had already gone viral. Most dismissed it as an elaborate performance art piece, but Amanda knew better. She spent the afternoon preparing the music studio, wondering if she was ready to become humanity's first jazz instructor for an advanced alien species. The late-night jam session had gone viral faster than anyone expected. Amateur videos showed the crystalline alien form of Zixmel pulsing with light as it attempted to understand jazz improvisation, its geometric patterns shifting chaotically with each unexpected note. The internet had dubbed it crystalline jazz, first contact, and remix versions were already trending worldwide. Amanda sat in her studio office, watching the view counter climb into the millions. At least they think it's performance art, she mused, before turning to the shimmering form hovering near her desk. The council's message arrived during Earth's solar zenith. Zixmel announced, its usual harmonic tones carrying an unfamiliar discord. The Void Collective has destroyed the Centaurian Alliance. Amanda's hand froze over her coffee cup. The what? The third civilization. They've eliminated this solar rotation. Zixmel's form contracted, its usual geometric perfection showing slight irregularities. They convert all matter into computational resources. They're approaching your sector. Before Amanda could respond, her phone buzzed. Another video had gone viral. This one showing multiple crystalline forms appearing simultaneously in concert halls worldwide. The Harmonious were breaking cover everywhere. Your society's reaction defies prediction models, Zixmel observed. Instead of panic, humans are creating content. Amanda scrolled through her feed. Memes of crystalline aliens playing jazz, EDM remixes of harmonious speech patterns, and conspiracy theories about Mozart being an alien composer were flooding social media. We cope with existential terror through creativity, she explained. Speaking of which, she pulled up a streaming service on her laptop. Someone had already created a playlist called Songs to Play When Aliens Invade. It had over 100,000 followers. The council recommends abandoning Earth, Zixmel continued. Standard protocol for preserving advanced civilizations from conflict contamination. But my research suggests. The alien hesitated, its patterns shifting erratically. Suggests what? That human unpredictability might be our greatest asset. The Void Collective operates on perfect mathematical efficiency. They've never lost because they can calculate every possible response. But humans, Zixmel expanded, projecting a holographic replay of Amanda's symphony intervention. Humans thrive on improbable solutions. Amanda's phone buzzed again. Her students had organized an impromptu first contact concert in the park. Thousands were attending, mixing classical music with electronic beats while projecting crystalline patterns on buildings. Your species is treating imminent extinction as a festival, Zixmel noted, confusion evident in its harmonic overtones. No, Amanda corrected, standing up. We're doing what humans do best, taking something terrifying and transforming it into something new. She grabbed her jacket. Come on. Where? To the concert. If humanity's going to face an existential threat, we might as well provide a proper soundtrack. They arrived to find the park transformed. Laser lights created crystalline patterns in the fog, while classical orchestras played alongside DJs. Someone had even created a dance move mimicking harmonious geometric patterns. It was already trending as the Crystal Shuffle. As they watched, Amanda's phone began broadcasting an emergency alert. Worldwide communications were being interrupted by a signal of perfect mathematical precision, the Void Collective's first probe. But instead of causing panic, something unexpected happened. The crowd interpreted the signal's rhythm, and the musicians began incorporating it into their performance. The mathematical pattern became a bass line, then a beat, then something entirely new. Zixmel's form flickered with what Amanda had learned to recognize as surprise. There, adapting the Void Collective's signal into music. Better, Amanda smiled, watching the crowd move to the transformed rhythm. They're making it their own. Her phone buzzed one final time that evening. The Harmonious Council had reached a decision about Earth, but as Amanda watched humans and crystalline aliens attempting to dance together, creating beautiful chaos in the process, she suspected humanity had already changed the equation. The warning of extinction had become a worldwide concert, and somehow that felt like the most human response possible. Somewhere in the universe, the Void Collective's perfect calculations were about to meet humanity's talent for improvisation, and Amanda couldn't wait for the next movement to begin. The Berklee College of Music's underground vault was never meant to be a shelter. Rows of priceless vintage instruments and original sheet music filled the climate-controlled space, but now it held something even more valuable. Dozens of students, 2 professors, and 1 increasingly agitated crystalline alien. The probe's harmonic resonance will breach these walls in approximately 7 minutes, Zixmel announced, its geometric form pulsing with urgent patterns. Amanda Brooks paced between shelves of vinyl records, her mind racing. Above them, the first Void Collective probe was methodically dissecting the campus, its perfect mathematical patterns disrupting all known forms of defense. The Harmonious advanced shields had shattered under its precise frequency attacks. What exactly are we dealing with? Professor James Martinez asked, clutching a 1959 Gibson Les Paul like a lifeline. The probe analyzes defense systems through perfect mathematical progression, Zixmel explained. It identifies patterns and... The alien stopped abruptly, its form rippling as a new sound penetrated the vault. A student had opened a vintage record player, and the unmistakable notes of John Coltrane's Giant Steps filled the space. The probe's penetrating hum clashed with Coltrane's deliberate dissonance. Amanda's eyes widened. Zixmel, you said they work through perfect patterns. Correct. They're computational. What happens when they encounter something that deliberately breaks patterns? The crystalline being's form shifted into what Amanda had learned was its thinking configuration. Unknown. In 11,000 encounters, they've never. Amanda was already moving. Martinez, get that Les Paul plugged in. Sarah, find Miles Davis Bitches Brew. Michael, I need that experimental theremin from the electronic lab. She turned to the stunned students. Everyone grab an instrument. Any instrument. The more unconventional, the better. Dr. Brooks, Zixmel's harmonics carried confusion. What are you? Jazz was born from breaking musical rules, Amanda explained, connecting cables and setting up amplifiers. Free jazz breaks even those rules, if they're looking for patterns to analyze. Understanding rippled through Zixmel's geometric patterns. You're going to give them chaos. Organized chaos, Amanda corrected, testing a microphone. Martinez, give me the most dissonant chord progression you know. The electric guitar wailed to life, its notes deliberately clashing with Coltrane's saxophone. A student started a polyrhythmic drum pattern that seemed to follow no time signature. Another added atonal synthesizer waves. Above them, the probe's penetrating hum faltered. It's working. Zixmel's form expanded with excitement. Their analysis algorithms are attempting to find the pattern. But then let's really confuse them. Amanda grabbed her violin. Everyone, remember free jazz ensemble exercises. On my mark, play whatever you feel, but listen to each other. Create order within chaos. The vault erupted into what should have been musical nonsense. Drums following impossible time signatures, guitars playing microtonal scales, brass instruments creating sounds they were never designed to make. But somehow, improbably, it began to cohere into something new. The probe's penetrating hum became erratic. Their computational matrix is failing to establish baseline parameters, Zixmel reported, its own geometric form beginning to pulse in rhythm with the chaos music. They've never encountered deliberate pattern disruption on this scale. Amanda drew her bow across the violin strings in a way that would have made classical composers weep. In jazz, we call that improvisation. The probe's hum suddenly ceased. Through the vault's small window, they watched its perfectly geometric form shudder, then retreat, its mathematical certainty shaken by humanity's deliberate embrace of uncertainty. As the impromptu concert wound down, Amanda turned to Zixmel, whose crystalline form was still rippling with newfound rhythms. Your people achieve perfection through perfect harmony. The Void Collective seeks it through perfect mathematics. But humans find strength in imperfection. Zixmel completed, its harmonics carrying a note of wonder. You create order from chaos itself. Amanda smiled, watching her students already discussing how to improve their chaos defense technique. We call that jazz. And I think we just found Earth's secret weapon. Above them, across the planet, the Void Collective's probes encountered similar scenes of musical chaos. For the first time in their existence, their perfect calculations began to show errors. The universe was about to learn why you should never underestimate a species that invented jazz. The Harmonious High Council chamber was a perfect sphere of crystalline geometry, its walls pulsing with synchronized light patterns that had remained unchanged for millennia. Until today. For the first time in their recorded history, discord rippled through the patterns as 12,000 Harmonious debated Earth's fate. The human's defense cannot be replicated, First Resonance declared, its form a complex dodecahedron of pure light. Their jazz relies on emotional impulses we cannot comprehend. Precisely why we need them, Zixmel countered, projecting memories of the Vault incident. The Void Collective has never failed to analyze and overcome any systematic defense. But humans, the image shifted to show Amanda conducting her chaos orchestra. Humans weaponize unpredictability itself. Amanda stood beside Zixmel, the only human ever allowed in the chamber. She fought to maintain her composure as waves of harmonic energy washed over her, thousands of crystalline beings arguing in pure musical tones. This discord disturbs our harmony, Third Resonance chimed, its geometric patterns rigid with disapproval. We have not experienced internal disagreement since the Great Convergence. Maybe that's the problem, Amanda said, her voice carrying through the chamber in perfectly translated harmonics. You're so afraid of discord that you've forgotten its value. The chamber's pulsing lights faltered. Zixmel translated the collective shock. Afraid? We transcended fear with all other emotional impediments. Then prove it. Amanda stepped forward, her footsteps echoing. You say you can't replicate our jazz defense because you can't handle emotional impulses. Let's test that theory. She pulled out her phone, called up a music app, and before anyone could object, the opening notes of Miles Davis, So What, filled the chamber. Thousands of geometric forms shuddered at the deliberate imperfection. This piece breaks every rule of classical harmony, Amanda explained, walking the chamber circumference. But it works because the musicians listen to each other, respond, adapt. They find harmony within chaos. She gestured to the still shuddering council. Right now, you're experiencing your first real discord in millennia. Don't fight it. Use it. The chamber's light patterns began shifting erratically as the Harmonious struggled with the concept. Some patterns synchronized with the jazz rhythm, while others maintained their rigid geometry. Impossible, First Resonance declared, but its perfect form wavered. We cannot. Third Resonance is already doing it, Amanda pointed out. The indicated being's patterns have begun pulsing in syncopated rhythms. You're not losing harmony. You're discovering a new kind. The chamber erupted into what could only be described as a crystalline jazz breakdown. Geometric patterns shifted and flowed, some maintaining traditional forms while others explored new configurations. The perfect sphere of the chamber itself seemed to breathe with the new rhythms. This is First Resonance's form had softened from rigid geometry into flowing curves. This sensation. Growth, Zixmel completed. We preserved our harmony so perfectly that we stopped evolving. Humans never stopped. The jazz faded out, but the chamber's patterns didn't return to their perfect synchronization. Instead, they found a new rhythm, structured but flexible, ordered but alive. The vote. First resonance announced, its tone carrying unfamiliar harmonics of emotion, will commence. For the first time in their history, the Harmonious didn't achieve unanimous consensus. The decision to stand with Earth passed by what humans would call a jazz margin, improvised, unexpected, but somehow perfect in its imperfection. As they left the chamber, Amanda noticed Zixmel's patterns still flowing with new rhythms. "You know," she said, "on Earth, we have this saying about dancing like nobody's watching." "Fascinating," Zixmel responded, its harmonics carrying a note of what might have been humor. "The Void Collective is watching everyone, calculating every pattern." Amanda smiled. "Then we'll teach the entire galaxy to dance in ways they can't calculate." Behind them, the council chamber pulsed with patterns that would have been considered chaotic that morning, but now felt like the beginning of something new. A harmony that embraced discord, a perfection that celebrated imperfection. The real question was whether the rest of the galaxy was ready for humanity's remix. Deep beneath the Berklee College of Music, what was once a vault for precious instruments had transformed into humanity's most unusual war room. Holographic displays powered by Harmonious technology filled the air, while musicians from every genre huddled around makeshift workstations. "The Void Collective's main fleet is 3 weeks out," Amanda announced to the assembled group. She gestured to a spiral pattern of red dots approaching Earth's solar system. Their probe's failure has only made them more determined. "Good news is," a jazz drummer named Marcus chimed in, "every probe they send gives us more data on how they react to different musical styles." He pulled up a holographic chart. "They're particularly vulnerable to bebop. Something about the rapid chord progressions scrambles their pattern recognition." Zixmel's crystalline form shimmered with what Amanda now recognized as excitement. "We've integrated these findings with our technology. Observe." The alien gestured, and a new hologram appeared, a modified Harmonious shield generator, but with an unusual addition. "Is that a turntable?" someone asked. "DJ booth," Amanda corrected, examining the design. "They're building our chaos directly into their defense systems." The vault's door opened, admitting Professor Martins with a group of classical musicians. "The Philadelphia Orchestra just arrived," he announced. "They're setting up in Vault 3 with the Korean Traditional Music Ensemble and that Finnish metal band." Amanda nodded. The underground complex had expanded rapidly, connecting multiple vaults into a labyrinth of musical experimentation. In one room, throat singers worked with electronic music producers. In another, a traditional African drum circle synchronized with a quantum harmonics team from the Harmonious fleet. "We're calling it Chaos Theory Warfare," Amanda explained, pulling up more holograms. "Traditional military tactics follow predictable patterns. The Void Collective calculates every possibility before they move. But music, especially improvised music." She played a quick violin riff that Zixmel instantly harmonized with, their practices paying off. Music can be logical and emotional simultaneously. "Check this out," Marcus said, hitting a button. A recorded battle sequence played, showing a void probe encountering a defended city. The probe's perfect geometric patterns met a wall of sound, a symphony orchestra playing Stravinsky, layered with jazz fusion, backed by traditional Indonesian gamelan, all run through a neural network that constantly remixed the combination. The probe's attempt to analyze the pattern overloaded its systems. "Each defensive installation is unique," Zixmel explained, its form flowing with the memory of the music. "No two cities will have the same combination of musicians, genres, or styles. The Void Collective cannot predict what they cannot pattern." A young electronic music producer raised her hand. "We've been working with the Harmonious engineers on something new." She pulled up a complex waveform. "We're calling it quantum jazz, using Harmonious technology to play in multiple time signatures simultaneously while maintaining harmonic coherence." Amanda watched the patterns flow across the screen. "How is this possible?" "The same way you taught me to appreciate dissonance," Zixmel answered. By embracing imperfection as a strength, our technology seeks perfect harmony. Your music shows us how to find harmony in chaos. Together, we're writing a whole new song. Amanda finished. She turned to the assembled musicians. 3 weeks to teach the galaxy how to jam. The next hours blurred into a symphony of preparation. Classical composers worked with AI specialists to create adaptive score algorithms. Jazz ensembles practiced with Harmonious shield generators, learning to modulate force fields through improvisation. A breakthrough came when they discovered that battle strategies based on jazz structure, a strong theme followed by individual improvisations returning to coordinated action, consistently confused the Void Collective's analysis. Late that night, Amanda found Zixmel hovering by the original Vault's vintage record player, its patterns flowing to a Miles Davis album. Having doubts? She asked. Calculating probabilities, it responded. The Void Collective has never failed to adapt to any defense. Amanda picked up her violin. Then let's give them something they can't adapt to. Something that adapts faster than they can calculate. She began to play, and after a moment's hesitation, Zixmel joined in, their improvisational duet echoing through the Vault complex, where humanity prepared its most improbable defense. Teaching the universe to swing. The Void Collective arrived at Earth's orbit with mathematical precision, their vast fleet forming perfect geometric patterns against the starfield. Their first transmission came as a series of precise, perfectly ordered frequencies, a calculation of Earth's inevitable defeat. They weren't expecting Earth to answer in jazz. All installations, commence Operation Freestyle. Amanda's voice rang through the global defense network. Across the planet, thousands of musicians took their positions at modified Harmonious shield generators. Classical orchestras in Beijing, jazz ensembles in New Orleans, traditional drummers in Lagos, electronic musicians in Berlin, all waited for their moment. Their primary attack pattern is forming, Zixmel announced, its crystalline form pulsing with battle rhythms. The main chamber of Earth's defense headquarters, once the Boston Symphony Hall, had been transformed into humanity's most ambitious concert stage. The void ships began their approach, their formation an equation of destruction that had never failed, until they hit the first defense line. The London Symphony Orchestra, led by a quantum-enhanced conductor, launched into Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, its deliberate chaos amplified by Harmonious technology. Void ships faltered, their perfect patterns disrupting as their computers tried to analyze the seemingly random yet somehow structured noise. Second wave, you're up, Amanda called. Miles away, a combination of Korean pansori singers and Norwegian black metal bands created a wall of sound that defied mathematical analysis. The void ship's second wave scattered, their precision shattered by frequencies that followed emotional rather than mathematical logic. But the Void Collective adapted quickly. Their third wave approached, their patterns altered to account for musical variables. They're learning, Zixmel warned, its form showing concern patterns. Amanda smiled. So are we. Marcus, show them what we've been practicing. In New Orleans, Marcus and his jazz ensemble began playing with Harmonious crystalline beings. The resulting music existed in quantum superposition, simultaneously structured and improvised, ordered and chaotic. Void ships spun out of formation, their computational matrices overwhelmed by music that existed in multiple states simultaneously. Main force approaching, Zixmel announced. They've devoted 87% of their computational power to analyzing our defense patterns. Time for the final. Amanda raised her violin. All installations, prepare for global jam session. Remember, listen to each other, respond to the moment, and whatever you do, don't play it safe. Across the planet, musicians of every tradition began playing. But instead of cacophony, something extraordinary emerged. The Harmonious technology allowed every musician to hear the whole, to feel the global rhythm. Classical music flowed into jazz, traditional songs merged with electronic beats, and above it all, the crystalline harmonies of their alien allies added impossible dimensions to the sound. The Void Collective's perfect formation disintegrated. Their ships, unable to process music that was simultaneously mathematical and emotional, structured and free, began to move erratically. Their main computational core is attempting to establish a new pattern recognition algorithm. Zixmel reported excitedly. They're starting to swing. Indeed, the void ships have begun moving in rhythm with the music, their precise patterns dissolving into something almost like dance. Their transmissions, once perfect mathematical sequences, began showing traces of melody. They're not just hearing it, Amanda realized. They're learning to play. The final moments of the battle looked less like warfare and more like the universe's most ambitious improvisational performance. Void ships swayed in cosmic rhythm, their feared computational matrices now processing music instead of destruction. The Harmonious, their crystalline forms pulsing with newfound rhythm, added their voices to the galaxy-spanning symphony. When the last note faded, the Void Collective's transmission wasn't a surrender. It was an invitation to jam. "I've never seen anything like this," Zixmel marveled, its patterns still flowing with music. They were supposed to be perfect. Amanda lowered her violin, watching the former void ships now moving in loose, improvisational patterns around Earth. "Perfect is boring," she said. "Imperfect is where the magic happens." Above them, human musicians were already boarding ships to teach the Void Collective the finer points of bebop. The greatest threat to galactic civilization hadn't been defeated. It had been converted to jazz. 1 year after the Battle of the Bands, as humanity had dubbed it, the Boston Symphony Hall hosted the first Galactic Music Festival. The scene would have been unimaginable just months earlier. Crystalline harmonious beings pulsed with rhythm alongside former Void Collective computational matrices that had reprogrammed themselves for musical expression rather than conquest. Amanda Brooks stood at the center of it all, her violin tucked under her arm, watching a young Harmonious student attempt to grasp the concept of freestyle rap. "But when do I calculate the next phonetic sequence?" the crystalline being asked, its patterns showing confusion. "You don't," responded Marcus, who had become Earth's premier alien jazz instructor. "Feel the beat. Let the words flow naturally. Like we practiced." The resulting performance was unlike anything in human history. Crystalline harmonics merging with hip-hop rhythms, creating patterns that existed somewhere between mathematics and pure feeling. "They're getting better," Zixmel observed, flowing beside Amanda. Its own patterns have become remarkably jazz-like over the past year, showing influences from everything from bebop to blues, though the council is still adapting to the concept of feeling the groove. Speaking of adaptation, Amanda gestured toward a corner where former Void Collective ships, now converted into living musical instruments, were attempting to learn reggae. Their once perfect geometric forms had softened into organic curves, and their computational cores now processed rhythm instead of battle strategies. "The universe's first digital dub," Marcus laughed. Bob Marley would be proud. The festival had transformed the entire city. Streets were filled with impossible combinations of alien and human music. A harmonious crystal choir performed with a gospel group in one park, while reformed void ships provided bass frequencies for a drum circle in another. Street musicians jammed with beings of pure energy, creating new genres with every session. "The Galactic Council is calling it the Human Harmony Revolution," Zixmel reported, its patterns showing amusement. "Apparently, several traditionally warlike species have requested jazz instructors." Amanda smiled, remembering the early days in the vault. Hard to calculate battle patterns when you're too busy learning saxophone solos. The main event was about to begin. On stage, an orchestra assembled unlike any before. Humans with traditional instruments, harmonious in crystalline formations, and reformed void ships hovering above, their energy fields tuned to musical frequencies. Amanda took her position as conductor. The piece they were about to perform had been composed collaboratively. Classical structure from Earth, harmonic innovations from the Harmonious, and computational complexity from the reformed Void Collective. But most importantly, It left room for improvisation. As she raised her baton, Amanda caught sight of first resonance in the audience, its once rigid geometric form now flowing with subtle jazz rhythms. Beside it, a former Void Collective commander pulsed with anticipation, its battle computers now processing swing rather than warfare. The music began, and with it, a new chapter in galactic history. Classical melody soared over alien harmonics, while mathematical patterns wove through human emotion. When the improvised sections began, species that had once been mortal enemies traded solos like old jazz buddies. During her own violin solo, Amanda remembered something she'd told her students long ago. Music isn't about being perfect, it's about being real. The universe, it seemed, had finally learned to swing. After the performance, as multiple species mingled and jammed in the after-party, Zixmel approached Amanda with an unusual pattern in its crystalline form. The Council has approved the establishment of the Galactic Conservatory of Improvisational Arts, it announced. They want you as the first dean. Amanda watched a group of young Harmonious attempting to breakdance while void ships provided a beat. On one condition, she said, we teach them that the wrong notes are sometimes the right ones. That, Zixmel's patterns shifted into what she now recognized as a smile, is the first lesson in the curriculum. Above them, the stars themselves seemed to pulse with a new rhythm. A universe learning that perfection wasn't about flawlessness, but about finding harmony in the beautiful chaos of existence. And somewhere in the cosmos, on a distant world, another species was about to discover jazz. The revolution would never end. It would just keep adding new voices to the eternal jam session of life.